It is a gorgeous day here in Austin, Texas, and I just had the chance to spend most of the day riding this bike, so I have some fresh thoughts that I want to share with you all. When you look at Yeti's lineup of aggressive 27 and 29er bikes, you may see the SB5 Plus and kind of wonder where it fits in. The Yeti SB5 Plus is an interesting bike in so much that, as far as I'm aware, it is the first full suspension 27 plus bike. This is not a 29er 27 plus, this is just a 27 plus. Yeti built it that way because they didn't want to have any compromises in the geometry and the handling of the bike, trying to fit two wheel sizes on there. Now, who is this bike for? I personally feel it's two types of riders. The first type are those who are looking for something that will help them get outside their comfort zone. They want to take those really gnarly hits, but just want something that adds a little bit of extra security. The 27 plus tires definitely give that. They add extra traction and just take a little bit of the edge off of those hits. The second type of rider are those who are less concerned about their Strava times and more concerned about getting as much trail time as possible. This bike is amazing to ride all day. I've literally ridden it all day, and other than your generic soreness from riding all day, I didn't feel beat up. Like, my muscles were tired, but I wasn't aggressively sore from taking too many hits. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is how does it ride? With a head angle that's just over 67 degrees and a wheelbase that's more than generous, you can throw this down any stretch of single track and it'll take it in stride. The full suspension setup on this is amazing, and it'll take those really big hits, while the plus size tires will soak up all those little rocks and roots. Now let's talk about the specs for a minute. This is the base model, which comes in at just under $4,700, and for that you do get a good amount of bike. The Fox Performance suspension is more than adequate for your average rider. Only the more aggressive riders are going to want to look at the Fox factory. In the back here, you see that you have the Shimano XT rear derailleur and cassette, whereas that's mated to a SLX shifter, and the brakes are SLX as well. I personally feel that this is a good compromise between price and performance, as you're really more concerned about the drivetrain than you are the shifter. Now, according to Yeti's website, the bike should come with a race face dropper post. Mine came with a Fox transfer. Not a really big deal, just mention it to anyone who's a race face fan. Now, of course, you can't talk about this bike without talking about the Switch Infinity system. I test rode quite a few bikes before I settled on the Yeti, and part of that reason was the Switch Infinity system. Compared to the Specialized Stump Jumper, the Santa Cruz Hightower, and pretty much all of Salsa's bikes, while they are all fun, amazing bikes and anyone who has one should cherish it, for me, the Switch Infinity system gave it just a little bit of an edge. Honestly, I don't even mess with the suspension. Once I get it dialed in, I leave it in full open. The climbing on this bike is insane, and that's coming from spending the past 3 years on hardtails. I can pretty much point the bike up anything that I need to climb and just go for it. It's amazing. Now that we've gotten all the praise out of the way, let's get critical about the bike for a second. One of the things that I didn't like about the bike when I first got it was the dropper post, but not the performance, the size. I want to know what giants work at Yeti that they felt that 150 millimeters of drop was needed across the entire size range. I'm 6'2" with a 32-inch inseam, and while originally I thought that I was going to fit on a large, I ended up with the extra large. That being said, even on the large, 150 mils was way too much drop for me, and when I got the extra large, I ended up having to completely take the dropper post out and swap it with the 100 millimeter. Yes, it's not that hard to sell a dropper post on Pink Bike or eBay these days. Mine was on eBay for I think 3 hours before someone bought it, so it wasn't that big of a deal, but I really feel like they should have put 125 mils of drop to give more of the average rider the ability to just tweak the bike as is instead of having to swap the parts. So one other thing that I'm going to warn you about with this bike is the paint. It is extremely easy to damage. If you buy the bike, get the protective film from Yeti and make sure you put it on before you ride the bike. I know you're going to want to try to ride it thinking it'll be fine. It won't. The down tube will be full of pits. You're probably going to scratch up something on the chain stays, and the top tube is probably going to get scuffed up. Mine has a few nicks and knacks here that I just quite honestly gave up trying to protect. I don't know what process Yeti uses to put the paint on, but they need to improve it. It's such an expensive bike, I cannot excuse them for such shoddy paint. My last complaint about the bike is a small one. It's the Shimano cassette. That 37 to 46 tooth jump leaves you wanting a gear in between. If you have the means, I'd recommend saving and getting the SRAM Eagle instead of the Shimano. So with all that good press, the question is this the bike for you? I don't think that 27 Plus is for everyone. There are some weight penalties. Even with the carbon fiber setup on this bike, it comes in, for me, just over 30 pounds. That's a lot of bike for some people, especially those that are looking for the most efficient pedaling platform out there. With that said, the 27 Plus definitely adds a lot of features that some riders may find irreplaceable. Endless amounts of traction, very smooth ride, and so much fun to monster truck over trails. If it's not the bike for you, that's fine. Bikes are like shoes. You got to find the one that fits you best. But if you ride this bike and it makes you smile more than any other bike you've ridden, I think you're going to find it pretty easy to save some pennies to get one of these things in your garage. My name is Joseph. Thanks for watching my review. Also want to take this opportunity to give a shout out to Bicycle Sport Shop. Great group of folks that were more than patient while I test rode pretty much every mountain bike that they had in stock before I settled on the Yeti. Not only that, but they allowed me to come in and record a lot of the footage that you saw in this review. There's a lot of great bike shops here in Austin, Texas, and if you're in the area, look them up. They're definitely one of the ones that I would send you to. Thanks again, and see you next time.